Today I'm going to be building this, the granddaddy, but this is the version 2.0 master grade RX782 from 2008. So it's a bit long in the tooth now, and of course the 3.0 version has come out since. I bought this back when it actually came out, I think. I sort of got into Gunpla probably around 2004 when I was living and working over in Japan. So I've already done sort of all the prep work, and what I'm going to be doing is essentially showing you the process that I go through for painting and decaling and then sort of the final assembly. This will be a vanilla build, so I'm not going to be doing any sort of scribing any new panel lines. I'm not going to be giving it any fancy color schemes or anything like that. It's going to be a very vanilla paint job on it, and the reason for that is because I'm actually going to be changing a strategy from what I usually do. So what I'm going to do is try something that has been around for a few years now but is sort of new to me. I only just recently discovered it, and that's these guys. So this is from the Scale Modeler Supply, SMS. They're based in Melbourne in Australia. And these are lacquer acrylics. So essentially in Australia it can be a bit problematic to find lacquer based paints, model paints. So I'm going to give these a shot. So these come in 30ml jars. They're pre-thinned. So I'll be interested to see if I have the same issues as what I do with Vallejo, where I actually have to thin this stuff down. So I've bought some SMS thinner as well, just to sort of see. The consistency of it though, I mean, it might be hard to see on camera, but in the bottle you can see it's very thin, so I suspect it should spray pretty well. Recommended you use a 0.3 airbrush needle. It's good. It comes in glass bottles. I think I would just end up pouring these using a toothpick or a cocktail stick into the airbrush, and we'll see how they go. I've also picked up the Surfacer primer, so they're grey primer, so I'm going to give that a shot as well. I've heard some people sort of talking about using the SMS paints straight on the plastic. I'm never a fan of that. I always believe in priming stuff first, no matter how small. I think primer gives you, especially with lacquer based paints, I think this stuff should fill all those micro scratches and what have you. It just gives you a better finish. So I've got that, and I have also, for the frame, I'm going to be using this metallic steel. So I have used the Vallejo metal colours in the past, and they're actually really good to spray. They're super thin. You get reasonable results out of those. So I'll be interested to see how this one compares. And I should say this is not a sponsored video or anything. I haven't been supplied these paints. I bought them with my own money, so I can give a fair opinion of how they go. Finally, I've got some SMS flat clear. So this is what I'm going to finish it off with. I'm going to try putting decals straight over the painted surface. So I'm going to try and skip that step of using gloss varnish in preparation for decals. So we'll see how we go there. I think generally with lacquer paints they tend to give a smoother surface, so it's a bit easier to put decals down on it. But we'll see. So when it comes to organising my parts and getting them ready for painting, obviously I do sanding, what have you. On this one I've been a bit rough. You can see there's a few mould lines there I haven't actually taken out. This is really just an experiment for me to see how these paints go, so I haven't gone overboard with the model cleanup as I probably should. I'm sure there's people out there shaking their heads at me. When it comes to actually painting, I know people use all sorts of things. They'll use skewers, or they'll use clips, or cat scratching box things to put their sticks in. I'm going to show you the method that I use. So I actually made my own little clip sticks. You can actually buy them, and they're relatively cheap if you buy them via AliExpress or eBay or what have you. But I just found it was easier for me to just make mine. So you can buy these little alligator clips from electronic suppliers. They're basically used for, clipping onto batteries and that sort of thing. And you can buy these in bulk. So I think I bought, 100 of them. And then I bought some stainless steel 3mm diameter rod. What's that, about 1/8 of an inch or something, if I remember rightly. And the great thing about these particular clips, they come with these little plastic caps on them, and they're just perfect. The rod just sticks in there and it just holds. And so I've got a couple of different sizes. So different heights, so that way you can tend to sort of stack more sticks up without the pieces actually interfering with each other. So what I put them on is, like I mentioned before, some people use those cat scratching boxes or whatever they are, but it's just made up of corrugated cardboard. I actually made up my own, and the reason I did that is because I've gone down the corrugated cardboard path, I've gone down the foam path, and I just find it just doesn't last. So I wanted to actually build something that's going to last me forever. So this is 2 pieces of MDF, or medium density fiberboard, and let me just check the thickness of this. Yeah, I think it's 12 millimeters. Okay, 12mm thickness. And so the base is just a solid. I've routed the edges just to give them a nice clean finish, but don't need to. Also got some rubber, some felt feet on them so they don't scratch the surface that they're sitting on. And the top piece has holes drilled all the way through. So once I've drilled all those holes, I stick that onto the base and screw it in place. The screws are actually hidden underneath the felt feet. But that means that these things sit in here nicely, they don't sort of fall all the way through, and you can sort of stack them up. I also kept this area here sort of, I kind of had this vision of using labels or something, but I've kind of gone down the path of using these little sticky notes. Baz grey, of course, is for bazooka. I have bazooka, I'll be painting these bits grey. So I just stick them on there, and then I'll stack up the pieces. So like this one, for example, it's just a matter of finding a place where you know it's not going to be, you're not going to see that there's no paint where the clip is. So I'll just stick that up there. And then I've got a few other pieces here. Let's see, this one. Let's see if we can get a clip in there. Ooh, it's going to be tight. There we go. It's going to sit in there like that. And now when you go sort of these really fine pieces, one thing that I usually do is I'll use these cocktail sticks, and I may find that, especially when you've got a hole like this, the toothpick as it stands at the moment won't fit, but if I just clip the end off, get it to the right, no, still too small, and just wedge it in there, and then you're sort of good to go. So that sort of serves 2 purposes. One is obviously to hold the piece while you're spraying it, but the other thing is it blocks up this hole, which you don't really want to fill with paint. The problem with, well, it's not a problem, I guess it's something you need to be aware of. The Bandai kits, of course, are so well engineered, and the tolerances are so tight that if you get a bit of paint on a peg, when it goes to, go into its corresponding hole, it might not fit if there's paint in there. So you just need to be aware of that. What I tend to do is I tend to cover all my holes and pegs with blue tack. So I just get a little bit of blue tack, and I mean, there's a whole lot of alternatives out there of what you can use. People sort of say, oh, blue tack leaves an oily residue and what have you, but I tend to find that it's not on there long enough to actually leave the residue, so it's not so much of an issue for me. But I usually just plug the holes like that. And so that way I know there's no paint going to get in those holes, and I won't have any issues when I've got to plug those pieces together. So on the corresponding piece, of course, we've got the little pegs, and I'll just do the same thing. I'll cover them up with blue tack. Now I know some people prefer to just scrape the paint off when they need to, because sometimes you might just get lucky and might not be an issue. But I tend to find it's just easier for me to cover all the pegs and the holes up. And of course, this one I'm going to leave one available so I can put a clip on it. Where's a clip? So we'll see. This is going to get fine. This is going to be fine. Hold. There we go. Perfect. Where you've got sort of small pieces like this, it only has, I'll just bring that into focus, it literally just has one sort of peg. These two bits on the side here, they sort of clip into place, but in this case I will usually just put a clip on that one peg, and that'll be enough to cover it so it doesn't get much paint on it. And so that's my process for sort of getting the pieces set up ready to paint. And I guess the next step for me is to actually get priming. So I'll start with this stuff, and we'll take it from there.